Suppiluliuma of Hatti received a letter that should not have existed, a royal plea from Egypt asking him to send a son to wear the double crown. It promised marriage, power, and a throne, yet it was written in fear, and it arrived like smoke from a burning palace, with no name anyone could trust. The message came from a queen who called herself only your servant, a woman shut inside gilded rooms while Egypt shook. Her husband, the king, was dead. She wrote that she had no son. She wrote that she would not marry a servant. She wrote that she wanted a Hittite prince. In Hatti, the court fell quiet, because everyone knew what Egypt meant. Egypt did not beg. Egypt commanded. Egypt sent golden threats, not desperate words. A queen asking for a foreign husband sounded like a trap with silk draped over iron, and Suppiluliuma, who read enemies like tracks in dust, did not answer quickly. Suppiluliuma was not a dreamer king. He was a hunter of borders, a breaker of rival coalitions, a man who moved cities like pieces on a board. He had taken lands in Syria, pulled vassals away from Egypt, and watched pharaohs smile while sharpening knives. If this letter was real, it was a crack in Egypt's wall. But if it was false, it was bait. A forged invitation could lure a Hittite prince into an Egyptian ambush, then give Egypt a reason to strike back with clean hands. Suppiluliuma's advisors argued in murmurs, weighing the shine of a crown against the darkness of a possible massacre. So he chose a step that revealed nothing and everything. He sent a trusted envoy to Egypt, not with a prince, but with questions. The envoy carried polite words and sharp eyes. He was told to learn who ruled behind the curtains, and who would profit if Hatti walked into Egypt's royal bed. Egypt at that moment was a place where names slid like sand. The great reforming king had vanished from the world and left a court full of rivals, priests hungry for old gods, generals impatient with palace games, and scribes rewriting yesterday. A queen could be powerful there, or she could be a prisoner with ink. The envoy returned with an answer that only deepened the fog. The queen's plea, he said, seemed real. Her terror, he said, was not acted. Yet even in his report, the queen's identity stayed slippery, as if the palace itself refused to speak her true name out loud. In Hatti, the letter gained a shadow name, Tutankhamun, a mangled echo of the king's wife. That alone was strange. The queen did not sign like a proud daughter of royal blood. She hid behind a title. Was she protecting herself, or was someone protecting the lie for her? Suppiluliuma asked the question that cut straight through the gold. Why would Egypt's queen refuse to marry a powerful Egyptian man, when that was the simplest way to secure the throne? In Egypt, a widow could take a counselor, a general, a high official, and keep the crown close. Why reach across hostile borders? The answer might have been fear. If she married within Egypt, she might become a puppet or a corpse. The court could have been a cage where every suitor was also an executioner. A foreign husband could arrive with soldiers, treaties, and a new balance, strong enough to keep the knives away, at least for a while. Or the answer might have been ambition, cold and daring. A queen might see a foreign prince as a blank slate, a man without roots in Egypt's factions. She could shape him, rule through him, and silence the old families by making the throne dependent on her. A crown can be safer when it rests on someone else's head. Yet there was another possibility, darker than ambition. What if the letter was written under pressure by men who wanted a Hittite prince precisely because they planned to kill him? A dead prince could spark a war, justify purges, and sweep inconvenient rivals away. In a frightened court, blood can look like order. Suppiluliuma hesitated, then did something that still feels like a gamble played in torchlight. He agreed to send one of his sons, Zannanza. Not the heir, but a prince of value, a living seal on a treaty that could change the world. He sent him south, toward the Nile, toward the unknown. The road to Egypt was long, and rumor outran the caravan. In Syrian cities, people watched the prince pass and whispered that the gods were bending history. Some thought Egypt had fallen so low it needed a Hittite to save it. Others thought Hatti was about to swallow the richest kingdom alive. Inside Egypt, the air was thick with shifting loyalties. One faction wanted the old gods back, another guarded the memory of the sun disk cult, another only cared about grain, taxes, and the army. In such a storm, a foreign groom was not merely a husband. He was a weapon that could be turned in any direction. And then, before the marriage, before the crown could be placed, Zannanza died. Not in battle. Not after a public trial. He died on the way, swallowed somewhere between borders, as if the earth itself had decided he should not reach the palace gates. The news hit Hatti like a thrown stone. Suppiluliuma raged, and his rage had the shape of questions. Who killed the prince? Egyptian officials claimed innocence, claimed bandits, claimed fate. But a prince traveled with guards, guides, provisions, and watchers. For him to die, someone had to open a door, look away, or give a quiet order. The queen's voice vanished after that. The letters stopped. The pleading hand that reached out for a Hittite husband disappeared back into Egypt's walls, and no clear record preserves what happened to her. Was she punished for asking? Was she silenced by the men she feared? Or was she never free enough to speak again? That is where the mystery hardens into stone, because even the queen's identity is still contested. Many believe she was Ankhesenamun, widow of the boy king Tutankhamun, young, royal, and suddenly trapped among older men with sharper power. Her words about having no son fit her, and her fear could have been real. But others point to different shadows. Could she have been Nefertiti, the famous queen, still alive in secret, trying to secure her position by bringing in a foreign prince? Could she have been a lesser royal woman used as a mask by stronger hands? Egypt had a talent for hiding rulers behind titles. The letter's tone is intimate, almost pleading, yet also strangely formal, as if someone dictated it. The queen insists she is not lying, as though she expects to be accused. She repeats that she will not marry a servant, as though a particular servant stands too close, already reaching for her. Egypt had such a man, a powerful official who rose fast in that era, the kind who could become king by marrying into the royal line. There was also a general, commander of armies, a man who could claim he was restoring order. If either saw a Hittite prince as a threat, the threat could be ended quietly. Suppiluliuma did not accept quiet. He blamed Egypt and struck at Egyptian interests in Syria, taking towns, carrying captives north, and turning border tension into open violence. Yet even that response feels like a man striking the door because he cannot reach the hand behind it. The killer stayed hidden. And the Hittite records, meant to preserve truth, were also weapons. They tell the story in a way that protects Hatti's honor and magnifies Egyptian guilt. They paint Suppiluliuma as cautious, then justified. They do not give Egypt's answer in full. They do not preserve the queen's second thoughts, if she had any. Egypt's own record is worse than silent. It is evasive. It leaves gaps where a scandal should be. After Tutankhamun, the throne passes quickly, and names shift, and monuments are altered. In that kind of silence, one can almost hear chisels scraping stone, removing what was too dangerous to remember. The queen, whoever she was, stands at the center of a storm with no face. If she was Ankhesenamun, what did she see in the palace that made her risk everything to avoid an Egyptian marriage? If she was someone else, why did she dare to write at all, knowing the price of failure? Suppiluliuma himself becomes part of the riddle, because he was not easily fooled. Why would a hardened strategist send a prince into such uncertainty? Did he know more than we do, perhaps through spies in Egypt's court? Or did ambition, for once, outrun his caution, pulled forward by the scent of Egypt's throne? Some imagine the scene in Egypt, a queen with ink-stained fingers, writing while listening for footsteps, pausing when voices rise in the corridor, sealing the tablet with trembling hands. Others imagine a council of men composing the words, using her title like a cloak, forcing her to approve what she could not control. Even the prince's death refuses to settle into one shape. Was it an assassination at a border town, carried out by agents who could vanish into crowds? Was it an accident arranged by guides bribed to lead the caravan into danger? Was it poison, slow and untraceable, given before he ever left Hatti? If the queen truly wanted Zannanza, his death destroyed her plan and likely destroyed her safety. If she did not want him, his death accomplished exactly what the plot required: a dead Hittite in the sand, a scandal too explosive to speak about openly. Either way, someone gained from the silence. The most unsettling part is how quickly the world moved on. Egypt reasserted itself without admitting anything. Hatti turned its grief into war, yet never produced the murderer. The queen, the most central witness, disappears from clear view. It is as if the story was designed to end in fog, not in proof. And still the letter remains, a voice from a sealed room, a plea that crosses enemy lines, then breaks like a cup dropped on stone. It promises a marriage that never happened, a crown that never found a head, a peace that died before it could breathe. If the queen was real and desperate, then someone in Egypt preferred chaos over a foreign prince, and was willing to murder to keep the throne pure. If the queen was a mask, then someone used her title to bait a superpower into a trap, and erase the trail with practiced hands. Suppiluliuma's empire would continue, but that single decision, to trust an Egyptian plea, left a wound that never closed. A prince vanished on the road. A queen vanished behind walls. Two kingdoms carried the event like a hidden dagger, each pretending it was not there. So the question hangs where the desert road meets the palace gate, sharp and unanswered. Who wrote the letter that dared to invite a Hittite prince into Egypt's heart? And when Zannanza fell before the Nile, did the unseen hand belong to a terrified queen or to the men standing right behind her?